thank you. Everybody good to go? It is 6 p.m. The April 26, 2022 meeting of the Dexter Township Planning Commission will please come to order. First item of information is you will notice that Maris Metz, our township treasurer, is on Planning Commission with us. She has replaced Karen Sekinga, who is concentrating her efforts on the local roads committee. So first of all, Maris, welcome. Thank you for agreeing to serve.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
And I'd also like to thank Karen Sekinga for all of her efforts. Years or so, I guess time flies. It's almost 2 years. And, you know, personally, I appreciate the passion and the thoughtfulness and the willingness to engage in sometimes vigorous conversation. It's really helped us, I think through some of the issues that have been before us. Just to take attendance or declare attendance for the benefit of those in the audience, both here and on live stream, introduce the Planning Commission. I'm Marty Straub. To my left, your right, is Maris Metz, Chandra Hurd, Tom Lewis, Christy Mayer, Bob Nestor, and Kim Marinelli. If you would all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Conflict of interest review. Does any member of the Planning Commission have conflict with anything on tonight's agenda? I hear none. Approval of the agenda. Does anyone see any changes they would like to make in tonight's agenda? Hearing none, I will declare the agenda approved as presented. Public comment. Just a little bit of explanation. If anyone cares to address us on just anything in general, this would be the time to do it. There will also be separate public hearings for the 2 rezoning items before us tonight. So if you want to speak specifically to that, I'd suggest that the better time to do that would be as we open public hearings separately for each of those. Having said all that, anybody care to address us at this point? There will be also another opportunity at the end of the meeting, separate from the public hearings. Seeing none, public comment at this point will be closed. Number 6, action items. Number 1, public hearing 22 PC-208, rezone Dexter Pinckney Road D04-12-023 from public recreation, which is zone PR, to rural residential, which is zoned RR. Mr. Rohr, could you please present the issues behind this to us?
Hope everybody can hear me at home this time. So these are 2 petitions here. Both of these petitions were issued by my office. They're very similar, but I thought I would split them up into 2 resolutions just for clarity, so there's some confusion. So start with the first one, which is 30412 or under 023. It's, you know, my parcel ID number because I currently have no address in Washington County.
Does any planning commissioner have a question for Mr. Rohr?
I had a question about if someone was proposing to build on it now, since the parcel's under 2 acres, if it was zoned rural residential, is that gonna be an issue because it's less than 2 acres under the current reg, or does it go back to the original?
So it's,
Right.
under our current ordinance, non-conforming parcels should be rezoned. Non-conforming parcels don't prohibit people to build on it, it just has certain limitations. This one, because of the road right of way, the water line setback will require variances. In fact, there is, this property received a variance, multiple variances in 1995, which were never acted on, plus there's an old man. So, but yeah, to your question, it is still buildable. It will require some creative design just because of its location.
Thank you.
Any further questions?
So David, I just have a question that maybe we can address later. In your letter to the property owner, you did indicate staff had identified several properties that should have their zoning district changed based on map error potentially. Did you find additional ones beyond these two?
Just these two. So this will be actually the 4th time. So after the last zoning map, which was approved in October 2020, there were other parcels that were, again, just inadvertently left out. They should have been, they were always intended to be rural residential, but the 2, they led the golf course, and 2 were zoned public recreation. So this is with the amount of public land and complicated lakes, I would anticipate that there probably are a few other parcels out there, kind of stray, average parcels that were inadvertently rezoned because there's so many and it does happen. But in my letter, I was referencing these 2 parcels specifically.
Okay. Just looking at the zoning map and taking a glance of property up close on a computer, there were a couple more in question that I would love to discuss with you at some time. This may not be the appropriate time tonight, but I'd like to bring a couple more to your attention.
Sure.
Any other questions at this point? Seeing none, at 6:08, the public hearing for 22 PC 208, parcel D0412400023 is now open. Anyone care to address us on public hearing for this parcel? Please step up to the microphone, give us your name and address for the record.
My name is Margaret Shearer, and I live at 8044 Hester Pinckney Road. I really need to understand what's going on. I mean, I see a real estate sign up in this piece, and yet you're saying it's public. I'm troubled about that, and I'm also puzzled about how do you use it? How would they use that piece of land? Where would you get septic drainage that isn't running right down the river? And you know, put a well in and everything, so I just wondered about the function of making this, more residential area when I cannot see use for it. So that's my question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else care to address us during this public hearing?
I beg your pardon?
I'm just asking for others. Yes, sir. Please state your name and address for the record.
Joe Clementi, 8025, Hester Pinckney. I was just wondering what is public recreation, what does it do with that land?
There's lots of things that you do, but all the metro parks are zoned public recreation. It's meant to be larger kind of open space that's used by the community. What they can't do is
thank you. Anybody else care to address us at this point? Seeing none, the public hearing on this parcel will be closed. Mr. Orr, maybe you could address, Dr. Shearer asked some questions that really have to do with the future permitting. If someone were to want to build a home there, maybe walk us through the process, just so that's.
Yeah, so good question, valid concerns. So in this aspect of what we're looking at is rezoning. So what you're talking about is the actual development of the property, which I agree has a lot of permits here. There's well, there's septic, there's setback requirements. There's the access permit from the Washington County Road Commission, which might be tricky. So I know this property being rezoned means that it will automatically the new house will spring up the next year. It will take quite a bit of creative design, and potentially there may be some hurdles on that we don't know about that ultimately make development impossible. But I'm dealing with that in my office administrative and with the county, with the health department, we work with the road commission, engineers, architects. So by no means is the rezoning going to make all of the issues disappear. There's still inherent in the process.
So just a way to move it. But somebody's owned this and paid taxes on it all the time, I assume?
They always pay taxes as a rural residential. It's essentially, this is basically just a map amendment. So in the simplest of terms, we're changing the color of this on the map from a dark blue or purple to a lighter rural residential. So that's all we're doing is we're amending the map. How and if or when it ever becomes developed is still an open question.
So really what we're doing tonight is correcting an error that has crept into the township zoning map that ended up with that classified incorrectly, I guess really unbeknownst to anyone until they just started asking questions recently. Is that?
Yeah, unbeknownst to myself, actually my predecessor, I don't believe the residents of 7982 next to 15 other position here, they had no idea that the property was zoned. So really nobody knew about it, and their tax, they've always been taxed at as a rural residential property.
So it gets posted and noticed in the papers and on the website and all to make this change, but the change that was in error that ended up, being anything other than rural residential, it just kind of happened silently. So even the owners would not have been aware, neighbors would not have been aware that an error had crept in.
Yeah, and to that point, procedurally, how this happened the last time was not proper. It did not follow any procedure, did not follow our zoning ordinance in terms of from that amendment. It just, again, like I said, it kind of silently happened, and once that zoning map is approved by the board, it becomes official. So my office, I can't simply change it back. I have to send it through, it has to go through the proper procedure to properly change it back.
Any other planning commissioner questions for Mr. Rohr? Hearing none, we have been provided a draft resolution to correct the error for this parcel. If someone would like to move the resolution, it's the last couple of pages of our packet for this issue. So if you take a look at that, it's been highlighted where we need to kind of fill in the blank. So we need to deal with this one way or the other. If someone would move the resolution with a favorable or an unfavorable recommendation, we'll proceed to take a vote and discharge our responsibility here.
Nobody's gonna step up. I guess I will.
Thank you.
We could wait for a long, long time. I move that we make an approval of, let's see, resolution 22 PC 208.
Is there support?
I support.
Who supported? Thank you, Kim.
Marinelli? So it has been moved by Mr. Nestor, support by Ms. Marinelli, to grant approval of a favorable recommendation for the application that was actually initiated by for the property located in Dexter Pinckney Road that has tax ID D04-12-400-023. Unless someone feels it's necessary, I will not read through the entire resolution. Anyone have any further discussion? If not, we'll take a roll call vote. Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Ms. Hurd?
Yes.
Ms. Mayer?
Yes?
Mr. Nestor?
Yes.
Ms. Marinelli?
Yes.
Ms. Metz?
Yes.
And Stroud votes yes, so that's 7 yes, 0 no, and 0 absent. Thank you. Next item of business is similar situation, 22 PC 208, I'm sorry, 209, it's not that similar. Rezone address 7982 Dexter Pinckney Road, tax ID D04-12-400-030 from public recreation to rural residential. Mr. Rohrer, please introduce this one to us.
As already just mentioned, 209, zoning map amendment, very similar narrative to the last one, only this one has an address, which is 792. This property is a little different in the fact that it has a house on it, and the house has been existing since 1959. This parcel actually met the zoning standard for the 1973 ordinance, and our current zoning ordinance is 2.6 acres, so it was a conforming parcel. Again, the property owners were not aware that the property had been rezoned. Wouldn't make any sense to rezone a single family home residential property to public recreation, particularly when it's one that can do with anything. So again, this is part of the same correction, the same error as 22 PC 20. So not a whole lot more I can say about it other than this one I think is just a lot more obvious. There's that single family home that has been there for over 60 years.
Any planning commission questions for Mr. Rohrer? Seeing none, at 6:20, we will open the public hearing for 22 PC 209, 7982 Dexter Pinckney Road. Anyone care to address the planning commission on this issue? Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Stephanie Klinke. I live at 7982 Dexter Pinckney Road. And I thank the planning commission for correcting this error. But I would like to point out that in both the public notice in the Sun Times and on your agenda, the road name is misspelled. I do not know if that makes a legal implication or not.
Thank you for pointing that out. We, for some reason, have had a heck of a time spelling Pinckney correctly in some other recent documents.
I had the same problem today in some of the documents I was doing, yeah.
I did not see this posted in the paper, and I typically ask Mr. Rohrer to confirm that it's been, that our agenda items have been legally noticed and all of that. So it was misspelled in the paper also?
It was, I have it here if you'd like to see.
No, that's fine. I just want to make sure I understand. Yes, I see that. Yeah, I just want to make sure I understand the issue.
I don't know if it really is an issue, except I know that things must be spelled correctly in legal documents, and if there's a correction that needs to be issued, I would like to see it in the paper.
So I will go out on the limb and offer my personal opinion that since we have the tax codes, which were also part of the notice, and did these get the yellow signs out front?
The yellow signs are correct.
So,
So this is says, again, my apologies for the spell check, didn't catch it there, it's spelled properly in the agenda, or the report and the resolution.
yeah.
So the tax code is correct, the address is correct, just its paper is spelled, so there are no people who are listening.
Yeah, so my personal opinion, without any, particular authority to state this, is that we are okay. I would request that Mr. Rohr runs this by the township attorney, and if we have to take action at our next meeting to fix that, we'll do that. But I don't think there's anything that negates our ability.
Is
Mr. Nestor?
Yes, is the address Pinckney, or is the address Dexter?
The address is Dexter.
It is, okay.
It's the.
But
just
Dexter
the name
Pinckney
of the
Road.
Yeah, right. I think that with the address being spelled correctly, that shouldn't be an issue.
And the parcel number is correct, so, which,
The parcel's the Washington
which would be,
County parcel number,
right.
Yeah.
Which is, again, my apologies, sometimes street names are spelled incorrectly, but as long as they're identified properly with the proper tax parcel ID number, it's very clear.
And the intention is clear, so I think we're good there, but if you just please confirm that to make sure that we haven't missed something. Thank you very much for bringing that up to us.
Correcting the error.
We're sorry that it occurred. Anyone else care to address us?
Since you asked, Bill Clinton, 7982 Dexter Pinckney. Did I understand correctly that we have been taxed, property tax at the correct rate all these times?
You haven't properly.
Okay, so there's no adjustments to be made there.
There's no adjustments, and our zoning map is incorrect, but the assessor's classification for property has remained rural residential.
Okay. Okay, and this just was some zombie change that happened in 2017 or?
The township doesn't actually have digital zoning map records between 2011 and 2017, and the most recent review before 2020 was 2017, and that's when the change happened. So how that happened and why that happened is unclear to me. I haven't been able to find any documentation to state. Typically, we would send you a letter, all of that.
Because I confess, I did not notice any difference in any of the paperwork that, or the typical forms you get. So, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else care to address us in this portion of the public hearing? Seeing none, public hearing for 22 PC 209 will be closed at 6:25. Any further planning commission discussion? Seeing none, it would be appropriate if someone wanted to move the resolution that has been provided for us in draft form on the last couple of pages of this packet.
I will move it. Mayor,
Moved by Mayor, support by,
I'll support.
support by Lewis. Any further discussion? It's been moved by Ms. Mayor, supported by Mr. Lewis. Roll call vote, Mr. Lewis,
Yes.
Ms. Hurd,
Yes.
Ms. Mayor,
yes.
Mr. Nestor,
Yes.
Ms. Marinelli,
Yes.
Ms. Metz.
Yes.
And Stroud votes yes. That's 7 yes, no absent. So that resolution passes. Next item of business is set public hearing for the amendments to ordinance number 37, the purchase of development rights. And my initial reaction to this was, well, why is that coming before the planning commission? And Mr. Rohr can explain that answer to us.
That was also my initial reaction. So the purchase and development rights ordinance
So would that be ready for, well, I was gonna say for our next meeting, but our next meeting has been kind of elusive, the past few months, so would we plan on having a May meeting? And would this be the, main,
We would plan on having a main meeting, there is a, draft change copy of the ordinance, Barry Lonick, consultant, is also going to be here to give a presentation to help walk the planning commission through, this ordinance. It's somewhat of a complicated ordinance, it doesn't necessarily, again, I'd like to emphasize that it would be to the planning commission, because it is ultimately voluntary, it's a voluntary program. It doesn't address some change in zoning districts or it's people with land who can opt into this program. So, but again, because of procedurally, it needs to come to us and to make a recommendation to the authority to change.
Is it an amendment to the zoning ordinance, or is an addition to the zoning ordinance, or is it standalone?
So, ordinance 37 is part of the code of ordinances, it's not part of the zoning ordinance. So it's not a zoning ordinance amendment, it's a standalone ordinance. Not all ordinances have to go to the planning commission, but any time that they're premised on the zoning enabling act or the planning commission finding enabling act, they need to come to the planning commission. This is just one of those ordinances that stops. What the planning commission's opinion of it is, I'm not sure. It's, again, what came before the planning commission in 2005, not very detailed, but they didn't have a whole lot to say about it because it wasn't written by them, it wasn't initiated by them, it wasn't part of the zoning ordinance.
And is the proposed draft available now, or?
The proposed draft is available now, and I've talked with Barry, and I can have it out to people early next week to get everything to look it over. So, again, it's an ordinance that's been on the books for 17 years, but there are a significant number of changes that are being proposed.
And then just hypothetically, if the planning commissioners indicate an interest in modifying the proposed text, then it would be something where we would postpone the public hearing to a date specific, or how would that work if we weren't prepared that specific evening?
So if you weren't prepared that specific evening, you could postpone, you could table it for additional comment period. You could also recommend these changes, additional amendments, and recommend these changes along with the additional amendments up to the board of trustees as well.
or I suppose, and I think it might be slightly different than the options you just mentioned, we could have the public hearing. I mean, it's gonna sound goofy, but, you know, prepared or not, and we could then take up our discussion at yet another meeting, I suppose. I don't think there's anything that prevents us from doing that. So we could have the public hearing on the document as it's proposed at our next meeting, and whether or not we are ready to make a recommendation would be kind of separate from whether or not we have the public hearing, if that makes sense. We don't necessarily need to, you know, be prepared to know everything that we need to know if we get to that point and we have questions. In fact, some of those questions, my preference would be, there may be members of the public that raise things that were not even on our minds, and that might give us pause, and we want to get some questions answered. But if that's the case, what is the date of our regular May meeting?
It will be May 24th.
So if it makes sense, hey, thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
So if it makes sense, and, you know, nobody has an objection to doing it at the next meeting, it would be appropriate if someone would care to move that we establish the public hearing for amendments to ordinance number 37 PDR for our regular meeting on May 24th.
So moved.
There we go.
I'll support.
Moved by Mr. Nestor, support by Ms. Mayer. there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Next item of business, number 7, approval of planning, yep, I'm sorry.
I wanted to ask,
Mhm.
I wanted to ask one more question about that ordinance. Is the intent of the ordinance to provide an opportunity for independents to fund it? Or is it money that's actually going to be taken out of the township money? Or is it an opportunity down the road to create a millage to support it?
Kind of a combination of all.
Okay.
So it's really the heart of the ordinance is about establishing an independent rewarding criteria for selecting land. So there's several different categories, and the consultant there, we did a good job of explaining what criteria they meet, how they're scored. Small committees, and then it's kind of ranking and selecting the properties. Right now, the funding for 2 yards is voluntary. The township has no sponsor. There is a push for ballot language in the village, and then whoever ballot to be on, which is public folks to approve it, that it would use public funds
Yeah.
as part of the process.
All right, great, thank you.
Approval of the planning commission meeting, planning commission minutes from the February 22nd meeting were in our packet. The only thing that jumped out at me is first line, present Marty Straub, vice chair. I was chair. And I didn't catch anything else, which really bugs me, because if Janice tossed in some spelling or punctuation to test me, I failed.
There is a mistake on there, it's the watermark.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm sorry.
Now you really feel bad, don't you?
That's awful, right in front of me. That was a good one. Anybody else see anything?
So Marty, you want to be known as chair now? Because last year you were vice chair.
No, that was the year before.
Oh, okay.
I was chair last year. Certainly I was chair 2 months ago when we did this, before and after the meeting.
Marty to chair.
Yeah, that's all.
Will do.
All right, anybody else have anything? I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Lewis, support.
Support.
Support by Ms. Hurd. All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carried and the minutes are approved. Number 8, Township Board of Trustees update, which may be a surprise to Ms. Metz. I don't expect that you have anything for us.
Not yet, sir.
Thank you.
Surprise.
Yeah. Number 9, concerns of Planning Commission members, Director of Planning and Zoning, Township Supervisor, Recording Secretary. Let's go around the table. Ms. Marinelli?
Yes, as I wear 2 hats here, I see that Hartman Farms is closed out now, and I know we have another
Oh, yeah.
subdivision coming and another site plan. So I've extensively read the Hartman Farms site plan, and I know that it was not left in the condition according to the site plan that it should have been left in. There's drainage issues, there's basins that were not maintained for this entire time. There's trees growing in them about this thick. So it's something that they were let go and like, oh yeah, sure, no big deal. And now the neighborhood is looking at thousands of dollars to reset this drain and make sure that it's functioning. This is an issue because the water system in the wetlands there's a dry well there, and that is the entire 70 homes, that's their fire protection.
Hmm.
And it's also, I heard, going to be used for the new development fire
I think
protection.
that is correct.
Which is a little of a sticky area because, whose money's gonna maintain this?
Hmm.
So I've heard that the builder is going to do this, but I'd like to see that the builder actually finish what they're doing in Hartman Farm. You know, the roads weren't maintained for 5 years. There should have been a road fund, a maintenance fund that was separate from the money that the township could access, so that if a resident came and said, hey, they're not maintaining our roads, it's been, 5 years, can we cut in and get someone out to maintain them? But residents had no actual way of accessing that money at all. The builder held the purse strings, and so we were kind of left, like, here you go, here's your issues, good luck. And, it's not a comfortable position to be in to explain to 69 other homeowners that the way that the association fees were determined was on the back of a napkin at a pizza party, and that the money will not be sufficient in the future to maintain these roads. So, people are looking at me going, look at this lot was left just like this after construction, and that's it. Like, there's no landscaping, no setting the foundation and letting it grow wild even. It's actually like a poor construction area with dumped concrete and disturbed ground, and it's really ugly. I'm not so much worried about that as I am the wetlands and the drain basins that were there. There's one main one in the phase 2. I realize phase 1 has been closed out for years, but phase 2 was still going on last year, so it shouldn't have been left uninspected. I'm not sure. I believe OHM is the one that has the final say on that, but there's no way they could have signed off on that with tree branches growing out of the drain. It needs to be reset. There needs to be it needs to be dredged. The basin needs to be laid with rock. It's not just weeding. It's something that's going to be extensive. So it's my understanding that maybe there's a toll still left in from the builder, that there's some kind of accountability or responsibility, but I don't want to trust them on that. I'd like to come here because this is it. This is the site plan. We are the people that hold them to that site plan. And I understand that the development agreement has been reformatted for the new development, which is fantastic. It takes all the power away from the builder and puts it back on the people of the township and the residents that are buying the homes, and that's great. But let's not leave this last development undone. Let's make sure that they fulfill the requirements in the development agreement. And I'm not really sure how to do that and how to access that money. Ironically, the builder doesn't return my call. So I'm hoping that, through the planning commission, we can get some kind of just making it whole, just making sure that, I'm the one that knows the most, and I'm going to be leading soon. And so I want to make sure that things are maintained to a certain level, because you're going to need that water for the next development. You have to make sure that it's taken care of. There's residents now that aren't adhering to the wetlands, and this is something that came down from the NDEQ, or now is Eagle, that those wetlands are protected, and we now have to protect them. They were protected before, and they're still going to be protected, and that means a 25-foot barrier, which some people weren't adhering to. They were using fertilizers. If you look on Google, it's like a nice shade of blue now. So I kind of feel like I'm losing a battle here, and I'd like to make sure that I can hand this off to someone. I'm actively looking for that person now, but I'd like to be able to come to you guys and ask, like, what can we do to make sure that this builder fulfills their obligation of that development?
Yeah, thank you. I'm guessing that's pretty much an administrative issue now. So, Mr. Rohr, I don't know how many of those details you are aware of, but if you could please dig into that, especially with respect to that development agreement, and suggest what an appropriate role of the township would be, please. Yeah, those are tough situations, and you know, back in the old days, there was not even anything as a development agreement, but as some of these things have progressed and the township has learned more as it's gone along, you know, the development agreement, like you mentioned, this most recent development agreement is like the latest, best version. But unfortunately, in any sort of an agreement, you really depend upon the parties responsible to do what they promised they were going to do. So it gets, excuse me, it gets very complicated when that does not happen, when you have to try to enforce an agreement. And it's an agreement, not an ordinance, or there could be some underlying ordinances that also have been, and that could be handled differently, but if it's a civil matter trying to enforce the agreement, not sure there's really any easy nor straightforward solution. But yeah, if we could look into that, please. Anything else?
That is it, thank you.
Mr. Nestor?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Ms. Mayer?
I just had a question, because David sent us the bylaws today. Are we supposed to look at them, or is it just for us to have them, or?
I can address that, because I had requested that, I don't remember when we last dealt with those, but sometime last year we modified them. In our last reading, there were, you know, a couple of, I think, typos or formatting issues, and I did not recall ever seeing the final copy. So this is just our, you know, final copy, so you can file it away for reference. It should be the, I haven't looked at it. I'm expecting that it is the clean version with everything fixed.
Okay.
But no changes from the last time that we dealt with it, other than those, you know, typo and formatting type things.
And how often do we look at it in terms of actually substantively
You know,
reviewing?
I would have to look in our bylaws. I think our bylaws say that we look at them annually, but that might be one of the things that we changed, because it was kind of nonsense, I thought, to review them annually. We should review them on an ad hoc basis, I think, when we see that something doesn't serve us anymore. But how did that?
Yeah, we did remove the annual requirement.
Okay.
Yeah, the planning commission has been in that cycle of every year, and multiple years, we create the bylaws, and it just seems like just make for it. So we amend them as we learn, so that also if something comes up where we realize there's a change, but bylaws typically don't change that much.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Mr. Lewis,
I'm good, thank you.
Ms. Hurd,
No concerns.
Ms. Metz?
No, sir.
The only thing I had when I went to replace the township annual meeting schedule on the front of my one notebook, I didn't find a new one on the township website. Township website, if anybody hasn't looked at it recently, it's really nice. It's pretty, it's formatted nice, it's pretty easy to navigate around. But yeah, there are probably a couple of things that need to be updated. I think the official township meeting schedule is one of them. I think, well, David, if you would make sure, please, that we get the bylaws. The bylaws are accessible on the township website. Still had the previous version on there, as I recall. Okay, excellent.
But yeah, I'll have that update the annual meetings.
All right.
Was there anything in particular? The meeting schedule? There was something, there was an error in the meeting schedule?
No,
Was there-
the 2022-2023 one, I would say is not on the website. Now, it's also possible that it's there someplace,
Okay.
and all I found was the old one.
Okay,
So that's all.
okay.
Yeah, well,
All right, thank you. Ms. Miller, have anything for us? Thank you, and thank you for hanging in there with us. Always appreciate your efforts. Mr. Rohr?
master plan, which is wrapping up the survey.
Yes.
And we're moving into the last meeting, we'll go to existing conditions, we do the public engagement process next. There was some discussion
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I wanted to mention that as a potential future agenda item. I know that notices can get kind of complicated, but it would seem, since I think the Board of Trustees was going to go through that same kind of activity for efficiency, it might make sense if we could do it together, but then we would be, I think, noticing what is kind of a joint meeting between the Planning Commission and the Board of Trustees, and that might not be worth the potential complications, but just kind of the discussion, everybody asking the same question, have the consultant out twice. If you think that would work, it seems okay to me, but if you think that's just a goofy idea, I understand that too.
No, I would trust the consultant. Typically consultants, don't like to do joint meetings.
Okay.
They actually, joint meetings can become complicated and problematic.
Yeah, all right.
So oftentimes they prefer to keep them separate, even if they have to answer some of the same questions twice. I think
Okay.
that's too- And we're paying them, so that's part of the scope of services, so coming out for a portion of 2 weeks, that would be.
All right, great, thank you. You have anything else?
Other than that, just, offer Mayor Smith, so it's good to have a full board meeting.
Thank you, David.
I had a quick question, actually. Someone had mentioned the La Fontaine lot and how they're keeping cars there. I haven't been around to see if they're still keeping cars there. Do we know if that?
You know, I did not look tonight, the last
I
time
know,
I
I
was
meant to
by there.
look, too.
So David and I have spoken about that.
Oh.
The last time I noticed, which, last week sometime, I think they had 3. Prior to that, they might have had 6 or 5 or 7 or something, and we did discuss that.
Yeah, they had a spring sales event at the La Fontaine next year, and we spoke of it because it was overflowing, they got them moved, so when you drive by tonight, take a look.
They're gone. They're all gone today.
Okay, thank you.
You know, when we had talked about this last meeting, I had seen in the paper that, I think it's Webster Township was looking at citing, it was LAG, which I think is La Fontaine Automotive Group, and I think because last time we talked about they had a better site, they thought, and I think it's on Mast Road, right past that landscaping business that's there.
Oh, huh.
Yeah, I think it's much closer to the city of Dexter.
Yeah, there's already no paper on that right now.
Is it?
Yeah.
Today's paper?
Well, no.
Oh,
Thursday's
you
paper.
saw today's paper.
Yeah, right. I went through it earlier today. Yeah, that is correct. It's
Okay.
327 cars. They want to
Wow.
have access to 327.
On that 7 acres? They're gonna.
No, not that piece, a
Oh.
different one, a different location. Is anybody heard anything about them selling that lot on North Territorial?
Just rumors.
That's what I've heard too.
Just rumors.
Okay.
So, but I'm sure they will.
We'll leave it
Will
there.
unload it at some point.
Yeah. Okay, guess we'll leave it at that. Rumors.
Is there a time span on that special use?
Yeah, they have a year, given that it's the permitting process, but they're clearly going to be moving over to Webster Township to do this, so I think they're just going to let it basically die on the vine.
But if someone were to purchase and want to take advantage of that special land use, they would have it from this time frame. It's roughly about a year to,
So if they, so the development agreement, the whole development agreement still allow the transfer of the rights, so you can transfer the property agreement, but you would have to rely exactly on the site plan.
Yeah, the definition was pretty narrow.
Yeah, I'm not sure who would want to pave that lot for 190 cars if they weren't outside of another car dealership.
just curious. Yeah.
And I don't recall, but we may have defined that even more narrowly. Did we specifically say that it was for a certain type of truck?
We did say it was a light duty truck. So yeah, so anything bigger than probably,
Yeah.
so I think the property could probably be sold and developed hopefully as some kind of commercial use.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have something viable with it, whether it served the community or not, just to be something that I thought LaFontaine was going to be a real good neighbor.
Something functional.
Yeah. Yeah.
That corner
They
doesn't have
seem
a very
very
good track
responsive.
record, does it?
It does not.
Maybe when they fix the road, right, they're supposed to be shaving down that hill, maybe it'll be
Yeah.
a
That's-
little.
Yeah.
It's a great spot to sit and watch the traffic on the weekends, you know, the cars, clubs, and the bikes, and, you know,
Yeah.
you put a nice pizza place in there, or ice cream. I know it was before, but,
Yeah.
give it another shot.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, agenda item number 10, public comment. Let the record reflect that there is no public remaining to address us, please. 11, future agenda items. Anybody have anything on that? David, anything else?
Besides the PDR for next month.
Okay, great. I would be pleased to entertain a motion to adjourn.
Oh, motion to adjourn.
Moved by Marinelli,
Support.
support by Mr. Nestor. All those in favor, please say yes.
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 All those opposed, no. Motion carried, the meeting's adjourned.
That changed.
Thank you, everyone.
Counting us down before we know
when
how
that
many
thing is
start.
off, please.